Welcome, everyone. A quick intro of our guest today. We first started working with Laura when she joined our mastermind group about 5 or 6 years ago. She has become an integral part of the ResultsCFO team as she performs an annual insurance assessment for our clients, regardless of whether she insures them. Laura helps business owners make smarter decisions by providing much needed intelligence, interpretation, and insight regarding their various business insurance policies. One quick example of her handiwork is after her policy audit, where she looks for gaps and redundancies, as well as review premium costs. She saved one of our clients over $60,000 a year on their various business policies. Without further fanfare, I'll turn it over to Laura Bianchini from Moody Insurance. Welcome, Laura. Welcome, Vicki.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I wanted to share some information from our office, and I apologize, but I have to read it because it's a statement, but I can go ahead and take questions at the end. So I'll go ahead and get started. Thank you all for allowing me the opportunity to speak with you. The events surrounding the coronavirus are definitely unprecedented. Things are very fluid, and I think all of us are trying to keep up with new information as it's available. Moody recently prepared a coronavirus statement, and I wanted to go over some of the points that are on that. I've also provided this to Demit's office. You all are welcome to see it as well. The real exposures that we're seeing that pertain to the virus are related to business income and civil authority, and I wanted to go over what that meant. Business income coverage is written to respond to losses that are a direct result of damage to property that are caused by a covered loss. Some examples of that could be fire, windstorm, hail, where you are displaced out of your location. Civil authority coverage is when you're not able to access your property as a result of damage to another property where civil authority precluded. An example of that could be is you are in a large office park and a building burnt down and you can't get there because you've been told that that area is closed because of damage. In reviewing what we have, it's likely that these claims are going to be denied by all of the insurance companies. So the policies that we have in force, there was never any coverage that you could even purchase for this. Typically, virus is excluded off of a policy. We don't want to give any false hope. However, there are a couple states that have filed legislation to have insurance carriers cover these claims despite the policy provisions. We're encouraging anyone having business income or civil authority claims to file with your insurance carriers. The insurance carriers are the ones that can accept or deny any claims. When filing a claim, the adjusters are going to be looking for the following information: profit and loss statements, sales records, income tax returns, rent rolls, payroll records. If you're in need of assistance with delaying or deferring your insurance payments, many of the insurance carriers are working with their clients, and we encourage you to reach out to them. Please do not allow the policies to cancel if at all possible. Coverage can be very difficult to obtain in the future. In addition, if there's any contractual obligations, such as a landlord or a vehicle loss payee, you want to be sure that you're complying with the requirements so forced coverage isn't put into place. Some action steps that you can take as business owners moving forward is to verify that you have business income coverage on your policy, which is under the property portion. If you need help looking at your declaration page, I'd be more than happy to help you. If you submit a claim to your insurance carriers, make sure that the items I mentioned are in one location and you have them up to date. Keeping accurate records right now is very crucial. Work on a business continuity plan for the future. And I've also provided some of this information to Demit's office as well. We have a tool, and not that you could count on something like this ever happening, but it could help you financially for down the road. In the future, if the coverage does become available, you'll want to work with your agents to secure coverage. The problem is if it does become available, it might be so costly that none of us can afford it. So I wanted to go ahead. So those are some action steps that I have. Did anybody have any questions?
Jackie, has anybody posted questions on Facebook?
No questions right now.
Okay. I do want to share just a couple things that have come up since yesterday. One of them was if anybody has an auto fleet and you're not considered essential and your fleet is down right now, some of the carriers are giving stay-at-home credits. So that means that they're offering credits for the months of April and May, where they'll do, some of them are up to 15%. We've also found out that they're going to be doing this on personal policies as well. So I encourage everybody, whether it's personal or business, that you look into it. The other thing that you want to keep in mind, anybody that has an open office right now, we have some coverage that insurance carriers are going to be offering. It's through our surplus lines market, which is harder to place coverage, but it's active shooter coverage. And you'll want to be on the lookout for that if you have disgruntled employees that you've let go, if you haven't applied for the loans or the grants that DMED has been helping with, or you think that you could have a problem down the road, you may want to look into the coverage and we can help. The other thing that I wanted to bring up is cyber liability. So we walked in this morning and we have several claims that have come through on cyber coverage. So everybody's systems right now are very susceptible to claims coming through, and hackers and people are using their efforts and resources towards other things, and these hackers know that. So make sure that your cyber coverage is up to date. Make sure that you have the cyber coverage, including business income coverage, because you could definitely have a loss where you're down for days because of that as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, I mean, on the cyber thing, I guess, I can understand what's probably happening. Like you said, the business owners and the admin people for the business are focused on other things, and these hackers don't have anything else to do better with their time right now. So they're going after businesses and trying to hack in. I mean, I know Zoom's having a problem with people basically video conference bombing, and you can set it up. They actually did a fix where you could set it up. They made an update where you can click on it and say that you have to accept people as they come into the video conference. So, it's a shame that we have to worry about things like that, especially in times like this when we're more focused on other things, just in the survival mode. But it's just amazing. Have you heard anything, Laura, with regard to, it's New Jersey and was it Ohio, the two legislate? Have you heard anything more?
No more on that yet. We think that if New Jersey goes, the other states are going to follow. And we've heard, rumors had it that there's other states that have also filed this legislation, but we haven't been privy to the information yet. But if New Jersey does it, they would be the first ones. We're thinking that it could go through because theirs is honestly the easiest. But if that happens, then the others it could happen. So what that means to a business owner is that these losses that you've had as far as business income, they typically go back 18 months to look at your records from last year to this year to make determinations on what you're missing, like what income's gone, what sales figures are gone, and that's how they pay out on these claims. The problem is going to be is if they do pay all these claims, at some point or another, these insurance companies are going to probably get a bailout if this goes through the federal government. But then we're going to see insurance companies completely fold up. So we'll have a bunch of businesses that possibly can't get insurance, or it's going to be extremely expensive to carry insurance. So rather than have coverage for the everyday things that we need, fire, theft, the main things, when something like this happens, and if the money is diverted to that, we could see not having any coverage at all. So we may not have coverage for fires. We may not have, they're going to start limiting things. So we were told in recent insurance classes that they were looking to put wording in policies that does provide some coverage for these. We just don't have any idea on coverage forms yet. Nothing's come out to review or costs.
Wow. So, and obviously that's going to take time. It's not going to be, if there are changes, it's going to happen. It's going to happen in the future. It's not going to be on their current policy. It's going to be on policies that you renew down the road. And there's obviously going to be a increase in premium. The other thing is, I mean, if insurance companies, if what you're saying does actually happen, and correct me if I'm wrong, if I misunderstood what you were saying, but it appears that you're thinking that if these insurance companies get hit with all these claims, regardless of any potential bailout by the federal government, there's going to be smaller companies that close up shop. And I guess the claims that those companies would, their insured would have would go through the state at that point, or where would they go if they're no longer around?
They would have gone through their insurance carrier at the time, whoever they had. But this is something to keep in mind too. We've had several businesses that have just shut down, right? They've shut down because maybe they can't get staff to come in and work,
Right.
or or maybe they weren't considered essential in their state. So if you're shutting down for some reasons, claims wouldn't come into play anyway. It's not something of your choosing. Like civil authority, if they're coming in and they're saying everybody has to stay at home, can we use that as civil authority, right? Everybody's been told to stay at home. We're not allowed to road. We're not considered essential. Then, so that's where I think we're going to get, if anything, where we're going to pick up coverage. But so it would be the coverage that was in place at the time of when all of this started.
Right. Okay. And Vicki, we were talking earlier before we went on live with Laura, where she was at one of her, had a similar presentation like this with one of her franchisor customers, and they were talking about how to use the insurance premium for the PPP loan. So why don't you just take a run through and explain what Laura was saying, that some of the misinformation, I guess, that's out there, and be able to correct it for our listeners.
So, as we've kind of been hammering home over the last week or so, the Paychecks Protection Program.
The PPP loan.
The PPP is focused on keeping people employed during this period of time. So all of the calculations are around people costs, primarily payroll and insurance premiums related to benefits, health insurance, dental, medical type insurance. Workers' compensation isn't included. Some things that people are questioning, well, it's related to the employee, is not included. So Laura, and correct me if I'm wrong, Laura, someone was trying to make the point that if a policy is based on number of employees or any sort of calculation with number of employees, that could also be included in the PPP loan calculation. And that is not true. So unfortunately, those premiums, any of these premiums that we're talking about today would not be included in a PPP loan calculation. But I think it's important, the point you made, Laura, about don't let your policies cancel and lapse right now, because they're in a state of flux. So although you may think they're not helping you at the moment, there might be something coming down the pike that it's worth it to really, keep making those payments or keep it in place so that you don't miss out if something does occur. And we can still have other disasters, so we don't want to see those policies, going away for lack of paying or, because of what's happening today, because we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I'm curious, have you seen any claims come in yet, or is it just premature? You have? Yeah.
Claims come in. We've actually had some lawsuits come in against the insurance carriers, but of course we're named in them as well because we're brokers.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, all of these regulations are set by the insurance commissioners, and it's very tailored and allowing like what I had to read and things that I have to do. And it is what it is. The insurance carriers, like we said, are the only ones that can make the determination on coverage. Mm-hmm. The only ones to override that are going to be the insurance commissioners. So this is going to be a joint effort to try to work on this, if at all, even if it's possible. So, But I do want to make sure that everybody knows, please reach out to these insurance carriers that are where you're making your payments, because some people have hefty monthly premiums for their insurance coverage. And what we're finding is, like, if you had an installment that's due in April and May, they may recalculate your payment plan if you're on a monthly plan and just didn't come up for your remainder installments. Or if you had a 10 payment plan and you had 2 months that normally you don't have a payment due, they're tacking it on to the end. So I really encourage people to go that route instead of letting things cancel. Yeah. Some people have also talked about changing their exposures, reducing their exposures. Well, we're going to reduce it now. Here's where the problem's going to be. Some businesses are going to completely take an increase as soon as they start opening again, right? So you need to be very careful because many of these policies are auditable. So at the end of the year, we've estimated what your payroll gross receipts are. And if it changes, you're responsible for the difference, whether it's up or down. If it's up, you know, some of those insurance carriers require payment in full. Some don't even give billing plans. So just be very mindful of what you're doing with your limits and staying on top of it with your agent.
That's really good when you're thinking about what's going to happen 6 months down the road or even a year down the road to your cash flow. If you're not planning for that hit, if you do reduce your policy limits and it is based on payroll or it is based on sales, when you do that reduction for this short period of time, it could kick back into to basically create a huge problem with cash flow next April or next May when your policies renew again. So, you know, there's all these things that we have to be looking at. It's not just what's our cash flow going to be for April and May, but what is our cash flow? What are our expenses going to be in September, October? What changes are going to happen to our expected reoccurring expenses that we need to be very cognizant of as business owners? So that's really good advice, Laura. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, and I think even what Laura's saying about talking to your carrier, because we've been saying that with everything, right? So if there's an expense that you're going to have a problem paying, don't just not pay it. Have the conversation with the vendor, the landlord, like whoever it is, because most of them are coming up with plans to put it at the end or later. But then to Demet's point, now we got to make sure we're calculating, okay, well, these deferred payments, which is a little different than what you were talking about with the increase of the insurance or it going back to the original requirements. But we have to look out, okay, if you're deferring everything, now what does that mean when things start to slowly come back? Because it might not all come back in one shot. So
yeah, but if there's also, I mean, along with that, not only just the reoccurring, when they go to renew or when there's the audit, the annual audit.
Right. Two separate things.
It could be a $20,000 hit.
Yes.
Because you reduced it down, but then when everything started to come back, you brought back your employees and all of that. So now you've got this $20,000 that you got to pay because the insurance carrier isn't going to allow you to space it out over the term of the next year. So, you know, it's a double-edged sword here because you got the reoccurring for cash flow purposes, month to month, you know, week to week, month to month. But then when the policy comes up, you're not only going to have that initial payment that you usually make for the renewal and then extend out the rest of the premiums, but now you're going to have to come up with the audit difference or the difference in the audit.
There's still just too many unknowns as far as when things might come back, when businesses will be allowed to open to make those calls, you know, right now that could be pretty drastic after the fact. So those are really good points.
So Laura, if I'm understanding you correctly, and again, feel free to correct me, the action steps that business owners should be taking are, one, reach out to your carrier or reach out to your agent to see about deferring or extending payments, at least in the short run, and make sure when you do that, that you are understanding what the terms of that extension or the deferment is going to be. Two, if you have business continuity insurance or business interruption insurance, regardless of whether it's going to be denied or not, you might as well file the claim at this point. I mean, do you feel that that's a reasonable step?
I think that you probably still have a few weeks on that if people wanted to wait. I'm thinking we're going to know something here sooner than later because they're really pushing on this.
So will you make sure that you let us know and let everybody know, log into the group and tell us when we all should be doing that?
Absolutely.
I'm going to hold you to that. You know me.
But this is a good time for everybody to get their information together. Though. Everybody should keep that up to date. And that way, when it's available, or you can get everything done quickly.
So you're saying they got to make sure that their books are in order.
Yeah. Understate.
Any other action steps you think that they should be taking now?
I think that everybody should have a continuity plan. There should always be an emergency plan. I mean, this, I think, has really taught all of us in any industry that you work in that what if? This could have been a what if a fire. You think about it and you're like, oh, that's not going to happen to me. That only happens to the people down at the end of the shopping center, not me. But I think that everybody needs to have a plan. What can you do? And I think that it's, you know, now the capabilities of people working at home, like things are going to change moving forward. I think some may change permanently moving forward. So just have your plans in place. And I gave you that tool to meet if you all have any questions, and I'm sure you have one as well. But just have a plan.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So Vicki, anything you'd like to add?
No, I think this was great. This was a lot of good information, and I think it definitely is going to give our viewers things to think about and start preparing for. So I'm interested in what happens and for Laura's update in the next week or so. I'm in New Jersey, Laura, so I'm hearing those rumblings here, you know, definitely a big news stories, but it does seem like, wow, that's a big thing if they push that forward. So,
Laura, if you know, I want to let everybody know that Laura will field questions. You just pop them into your questions into the group, and we'll make sure that Laura gets them, and she'll respond to them accordingly. Vicki, do you have any updates on what we're going to be talking about on Thursday, or any new updates with regard to PPP?
We put a bunch of updates regarding Schedule C and independent contractors up on the group this morning. That's set to go live tomorrow. So anyone that is in that type of business, take a look. And then later today, we're actually going to be posting some information about partnerships and K-1 income. So that'll be coming later this afternoon. So there's some not developments, but a little more clarity of what we think your next step should be. So busy day. And then tomorrow is going to be a busy day too, with the application process opening up for PPP for those folks. Right. So I would say that for those folks that are on the call, that are on here listening in, that are in that group, tomorrow may not be an easy day, because last Friday, as far as the application process goes, last Friday for other types of businesses, it was not smooth whatsoever. And actually the ones that didn't even try to get in until Monday, it went a lot smoother. So if it's not working perfectly for you tomorrow, do not be concerned. Try, but then probably by Monday it will be, and then the process has been pretty smooth from there. So just, you know, be ready for that, and don't be concerned if your bank isn't as responsive as they should. You would think that they would be tomorrow, because this is a whole new animal for everybody. Like, what's self-employed? How do you calculate that? So there, you know, just be ready for a little bit of, it could be a little hard to do those first couple of steps.
Lots of hiccups. So we'll keep posting, and then we'll let everybody know what we're going to be talking about next Tuesday. We haven't put together who's going to be on next Tuesday. We're still trying to get one of our bankers to come on next week to talk about how this is all impacting the banks, and things that you can do to work with your bank, even if you've already applied for any of the loans, the PPP loans. But what are the banks going to be looking for? But, you know, we were supposed to have somebody on this week. Sharon was supposed to come on this week, but they're slammed. They don't have any free time. So we're trying to bring on one of our numerous bankers, hopefully next week, maybe the following week. But everybody stay safe, keep your distance, and we'll talk to you next week. Thank you for joining us.
Laura.
Thanks, Laura. Thanks, Vicki. Talk to you later.
All right. Bye-bye.